Hey, it's Will. Thanks so much for watching my second YouTube video, photographing the Aurora with mobile phones. One of the most incredible things with new phones is the advancement of the cameras, whether it's better sensor or having multiple lenses. And certainly what I've noticed is how photographing the northern lights and the night sky is just getting better and better with mobile phones. I'm going to be talking about how you can get the best out of your camera when it comes to photographing the northern lights. The main difference between a smartphone camera and, say, a DSLR is with a smartphone, the advancement is actually in the computer itself. It's the processing, it's the stacking of images, literally taking lots and lots of photographs at night and then stacking them together to create one image. It's the photoshopping, it's the editing, all of that stuff behind the scenes, which is why phone photography is advancing so well and at times might look better than a photograph taken with a DSLR in simply RAW, without any editing whatsoever. And this is the biggest advancement with smartphones. There's a famous saying, the best camera is the one that you have on you, and that is certainly one of the most useful things of having a decent camera on your phone. You can just get it out of your pocket, take the shot whenever you want. It's accessible and portable. One of the things I notice a lot when I look at people's photographs, which maybe includes Christmas lights or street lights or just lights in general, are these streaks. Can you see them on the left hand side here? And this is because the camera lens is a little bit dirty. It's unfortunately because it's fairly exposed. You'll put your hand in your pocket to grab your phone, you'll accidentally touch the camera lens, or it'll just be exposed to the natural elements and we don't think about cleaning the lens. It's a very common problem. So before you start to take photographs, clean the back of your lens. Just give it a little wipe and honestly, you'll find that your images will be far sharper, far clearer. Have a look at your phone camera lens now. Just turn and have a look and I bet you it just needs a bit of a wipe. Tripods, definitely something I recommend, especially when it comes to night photography, photographing the northern lights. Get yourself a tripod, something you can rest it on, because yes, you can handhold and photograph the Aurora, but tripod will drastically increase the amount of time you can take these long exposures. Something else I really recommend are these gimbals. Basically, you put your phone onto the accessory, works kind of like a selfie stick. It compensates for any handshake. When you're panning around, moving around, it also makes the capture a lot more smooth. It can also work like a tripod as well, so definitely something I feel that you should invest in. I just want to point out that some phones will give you the option to capture your images in RAW. This is a type of image file. Most cameras and phones will capture in JPEG. This is a compressed file, but RAW basically captures all of the data. So when you can, if you have the option, I recommend capturing in RAW. That gives you more freedom when it comes to processing the image, but also it is a larger file, which will help with prints if you want to go down that route. Okay, so I am going to go into more detail on how to capture the northern lights with Android and iPhone cameras. But before I go into that, if you're not aware yet, I've hired a cruise ship. I'm taking 1,000 people Aurora chasing. There are still spaces if you'd like to join, so check it out. It'll be great to see you on board.
Hi, my name is Will. I'm an Aurora Chaser. I've seen the Northern Lights over 350 times, and I am so excited to share with you that I have privately chartered a cruise ship, Ambition with Ambassador Cruise Lines. We're heading off to Norway with some of the darkest skies and one of the best times in a decade to see the Aurora, coupled with a major meteor shower will have shooting stars and the aurora at the same time. Using satellite data, I'll be able to inform everyone with advance notice when to get up on deck and to see the expansion phase when the aurora really picks up in activity, in brightness, and I cannot wait for you to join me. Check us out at willscruises.com.
So super exciting, hope you can join me. Okay, so with an Android, what I want you to do is to get your phone out, open the camera app, and then can you see on the bottom right there is an option to click more. Okay, so once you've done that, you're going to get something similar to the image on the left or right. The main thing I want you to focus on is where it says night. Now, when you click on night, all you have to do then is hold your phone back up at the sky, press the shutter button, hold your camera still, and it should take a pretty decent photograph of the northern lights for you. That is it, as simple as that. Now, if you don't have the night icon, then you should have the Pro icon. Clicking on Pro will give you some options where you can manually adjust the camera settings. If night mode also doesn't work well for you, then I would suggest clicking on Pro. When you click on Pro, it opens up some finer adjustments that you can make manually. So you've clicked on Pro, there's only two things I want you to focus on. The first one is this thing called ISO. This is basically the sensitivity of your camera lens. Usually it starts off at 100 and you can increase it all the way up to often 3200, even 6400. All you need to know is the higher that number, the more light your camera collects. So for now, the purposes of northern lights, I want you to ramp that up as high as your phone will go. Whether it's 800 or 3000, just the highest number it can go to. So the next one I want you to focus on is shutter speed. In this example, it's 1/125th of a second. Now this is a fraction. You need it to be in the seconds for northern lights. So dialing that number to a minimum of 3 seconds, going up to 8 even, or even 10. Some phones will go up to 30, but I would suggest anything between 8 to 10 is ideal. So once you've selected those two settings, then go back to your camera, try the shutter button and give it a go. If it's still too dark, then make the shutter speed even longer. If you're already maxed out at the ISO, then try and do 10 seconds, holding your camera as still as possible. If that still doesn't work, then using a tripod will lengthen the amount of time that you can use. Okay, so one more thing I want you to check is whether or not the flash is on. When you're photographing at night, your camera will think, oh, it's too dark, I'll turn on the flash. So just be absolutely sure the flash is switched off. In this example, top left, you can see the flash icon is kind of illuminated. So all you have to do is click on it to turn it off. Different systems might have a different way of switching it off, but all you have to do is just make sure it is not on. Another really good tip is that the different lenses at the back of your camera, if you have multiple, the one camera, the main camera, is usually the best one. It has the highest resolution and it might be also best at low light. So a really good tip with photographing the northern lights is to not use any zoom function, just click on number 1 or the main camera. I found on some Android you'll see the little tree icons. Multiple trees is the ultra wide, less trees is more zoomed in, so just go for the one that's more either in the middle or not ultra wide. Okay, so with iPhones, iPhone 11 and above, when you are in a dark area, so this doesn't work when you're in a bright room, when you hold your camera up, the night mode icon will appear. And this is what it looks like, top left. Now, along that, we'll have a number. That is the exposure time. That is basically the length of time that your camera is capturing the northern lights. The longer it is, the more light it collects, but the default is usually 3 seconds. But what if 3 seconds isn't enough? Well, you can actually change that. Remember, you can only do this when your camera's in a dark location, but with the night mode icon on, press the top arrow that you can see in the middle. And once you've done that, at the very bottom towards the shutter button, you'll see a new dial appear, and in this instance it says max 10, and this is because your hand holding the phone, and it'll give you a maximum of 10-second exposure. So just swipe it over to the 10 seconds. Now interestingly, if you have it on the tripod, it will give you up to 30 seconds. So this is what I was saying, putting your phone on a tripod will often give you opportunities to have a much longer exposure, therefore collect more light. Okay, so I'm happy that you now know how to adjust your camera settings, but it's really important for you to remember that the Aurora appears differently depending on how close you are to the auroral oval. If you see photographs of very bright aurora, the answer isn't necessarily because the person adjusted their camera settings to be able to capture it so amazingly. It might simply have been when they saw it, it was incredible. If you're seeing the aurora as a faint glow on the horizon, then no matter what settings you use, it's going to be a challenge to capture it really, really well. So please understand that it's not as simple as saying to capture good aurora equals camera settings. Okay, so let's look at this photograph. This was a 10-second exposure with my phone. I was just off the coast of southern Scotland. It was a beautiful display by eye, certainly not as colourful, but 10 seconds really brought the colours out. So next we have a series of 3-second images. Look at this. This is where the aurora was almost directly above me. 3 seconds was more than adequate. Nice structure in the image as well. Now, depending on how you're seeing it, how much ambient light there is as well, this was also 3 seconds. Whilst it wasn't as close to me, still 3 seconds, the image came out really well. And here we go, another 3-second shot. Don't forget, the default is usually 3 seconds, so it wasn't necessarily that I decided, hey, I'll try 3 seconds or 5 seconds. I just took the image and it just came out well enough for me not to have to adjust it. In this instance, this was a 1-second exposure. It was actually quite challenging because I was on a moving ship, but I wanted to get the long exposure movement of the water. There was also a bright moon in the sky, and I also wanted to capture the aurora really well as well, so 1 second worked. Another 1-second image. Now notice that the aurora isn't right above me, but it was so bright, 1 second was more than enough. It just shows that when the aurora is strong, you do not need super long exposures. This was at Whitley Bay, northeast England, a 1-second shot again. When the aurora is strong, as I say, you do not need super long exposures, and obviously capturing good aurora is so much easier when the aurora is nice and bright. This is a 1/2 second shot. Now, really fast shutter speed for Northern Lights. Remember, taking with a phone. So by eye, this was a really impressive show. 1/2 second, very fast shutter speed, and it was what the camera selected. Another 1/2 second shot of the aurora, even brighter again. You can see it's how much brighter it is, almost at the point of overexposure. Okay, so I hope that's been really useful. We talked about the different camera settings, how to adjust in pro mode if you needed it, and also the importance of how you're seeing the aurora and how well you capture it. If you haven't already, I would love it if you could like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much for watching, and look forward to seeing you again.